Ben and Polly dashed over to the prone body. The lights were pulsing like crazy now, and the heartbeat in the ship was almost deafening. It was hard for Ben to concentrate. At the back of his mind, he could feel something plucking at his mind, trying to twist it, to change it. "Stop it!" he yelled, falling to his knees beside the doctor. "Stop it!" He wasn't sure if he was addressing the doctor or the TARDIS itself. The doctor was beyond hearing anything. His chest was rising and falling in short, sharp breaths. His features were contorted. His thin, silvery hair looked lifeless and ready to fall out. "Is he dead?" asked Polly. Ben shook his head. He couldn't find any words, so he simply pointed. As they watched, the doctor's face began to change. The skin seemed to be in motion, like some sentient carpet creeping over the doctor's bones. Then the face began to shift and fall. Ben wondered in sudden terror if the doctor was going to crumble and fall apart like Christopher Lee did in those Dracula films, or like the Cybermen had done. He forced himself to watch, to be strong for Polly's sake. She gave a short, sharp sound of disgust and fear and buried her face in Ben's arms. The silver hair started to curl up and vanish. The cloak that covered the doctor shifted, though the doctor was obviously neither conscious nor moving. Was this the end? Then, incredibly, the changes began to show. First, the skin settled down. It was no longer pale and transparent, but almost tanned and thicker. The silver hair was gone completely. In its place was a shock of jet black hair. The familiar lines in the doctor's face were gone, and fewer lines now marked the visage Ben stared into. It was no longer the doctor who lay on the floor before them, but a very different man. "Ben," Polly said in a very small, frightened voice. "His face, his hair, look at him." Ben couldn't take his eyes off the man who lay there in the doctor's cloak. The pulsing lights overhead seemed to be slowing down, and the pounding sound in the TARDIS walls was getting softer. It was now merely incredibly irritating. "He's still breathing," Ben told her, then caught himself. Who was he? "What are we going to do?" Polly asked helplessly. "We can't just leave the doctor there." "Him?" Ben pointed at the stranger in front of them. "The doctor?" "Well, who else could it be?" Polly sounded as if she were on the very edge of panic, about to plunge into a maelstrom of madness from which there was no return. Ben could understand and sympathize with that. He was tottering on the brink himself. "He came in through the doors just ahead of us. We saw him standing there, and there was nobody with him but us. And we saw him collapse. Don't you remember what he said? 'This old body of mine is growing a bit thin.'" Ben shook his head. "So he just got himself a new one? No, that's impossible. Do me a favour." He stared at the man on the floor. "Somebody must have come in with us while we were watching the doctor. We didn't take our eyes off him for a second, Ben." Polly dug her long nails into the back of his hand, making him want to scream. At least it meant he wasn't dreaming all of this. "The doctor fell down, and this man is here in his cloak." Ben reached forward, and with a swift motion he jerked the cloak from atop the unconscious man. Not only the doctor's face had vanished, so had his clothing. The battered black coat and trousers were different. They were now a loose, stain-covered black jacket several sizes too large for the small man who wore it. The trousers were yellow, with a large, checkered pattern on them. He wore a faded shirt with a very large bow tie that seemed to have been tied by a blind man in a rush to be somewhere else. "And I suppose he not only changed his body, but his tailor as well?" Ben snapped. "It's impossible, I tell you." Polly seemed to be getting a grip on herself again. "Not long ago, we'd have called many of the things we've seen impossible too." "Yeah, but this,"